Welcome everyone to our special session today where we're going to talk about recruitment best practices. And we have a fantastic panel today of and distinguished general as well as recruitment experts and leaders from the industry. Before we get started, I'd request each one of us to quickly introduce ourselves for the benefit of the wider audience. Satya, why don't we start with you first?
Thanks, Rashmi. So, hi all. My name is Satya Sinha. I represent Mansfield Consulting. I'm the managing partner with Mansfield Consulting. We have been running this firm for almost 25 years before we took over this firm. And prior to that, it was run by a veteran. He was Brigadier Narula for 3 years. So that's an interesting story when I'm talking about this. This I just recalled that this was also run by Brigadier Narula, and he wanted to not do this work, and then we took it over from him. And since 25 years, we have been working in this field, and I'm glad that I will be able to contribute here for all the veteran hiring. And we have done multiple placements in across industry. Our expertise is in global capability centers, and we have also worked in the past with our services company. We also work for product as well as manufacturing setup. So these are our actually forte.
You're muted.
Great to hear that, Satya. Thank you so much. Why don't we quickly move to General Dhanrajan, if that's okay with you?
Thank you, Rashmi. At the outset, I would first, like to thank all the veterans, the serving, and everyone else, who have made this thing possible that we're able to even get together despite all the escalation and all the flare-ups that have been taking place all along our frontiers, especially over the last few days. And it's really nice and very appropriate that you have chosen such a kind of a panel to discuss on aspects which are most pertinent for our entire nation, for the society, for the veterans at large, and everyone. And besides that, it's something that during the more than 37 years that I was in the army in uniform, I retired last year, and I was in the Corps of Engineers, and I happened to see different facets of not just the technical side, but as well as the general cadre, the ones who actually do all the foot slogging and the border management, be it on the Chinese frontier, the northeast in the states of Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, South Assam, Tripura, and otherwise, as well as in the J&K front. I was commanding the division there when we had the Balakot, Pulwama application of Article 370, and subsequently thereafter was also the in the financial planning sector of the army, dealing with all the aspects of how the entire army's e-commerce and all the other things that procurements and otherwise take place. I, uh, I should add that before I retired, I was the GOC Bengal, wherein I did reach out to a large number of corporate sector to understand how they were employing the talent and the competency skills of all the ex-servicemen that were there at large in entire West Bengal. I did interact with the hierarchy right from the entire bureaucratic administration as well as the political hierarchy there as well to facilitate the ex-servicemen. And I've been trying to follow it up as well, where here in Chennai now with the state government and the other entities who are here in Chennai as well. It's been a very nice journey to see as to how many of the ex-servicemen end up very successfully. But having seen it both from this side and the other side, now with the corporate sector, I find that there is so much of handshake still yet to be done. And especially when you know that we are on a skyrocketing growth trajectory, which requires to harness the spirits and the energies of all the veterans who are available. And there's so much more to do. And I'm sure all of you are much more knowledgeable on that front and looking forward to interacting with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan Rajan, for sharing all of that. Really wonderful. I'd quickly request maybe Pallavi, if you can go, please.
Hi everyone. Myself Pallavi Alhans. I carry approximately 19 years of experience into recruitment across industry, be it technology, be it product, be it services. Now, with as you grow, you evolve. and you continue to add to your portfolio. So now of lately, I have not only, I mean, my portfolio is not limited to technology now. It's like the FNA or maybe the GBS, which I do for teleperformance here. So it's like all the global hires which we do in India. So India is growing, and as the roles are expanding in India, there is a lot of opportunity which we have in India to give to hire, and we are diversifying into a lot of technology skills, maybe FNA or maybe AI, analytics, transformation, I mean whatnot. So it's like expanding and expanding, and we are evolving. So it's a great opportunity, Rashmi, you have provided. And see, normal hiring is something which we have been doing from a while now. It's very BAU. Everybody needs a change, and how to bring that change is very important. So this partnership probably will really help to give diverse, disability, veterans. These are few areas where everybody wants to focus now. And veteran, what I feel that the most important aspect is that they are already experienced people. They come with already some amount, I mean, a great amount of leadership. So that will be actually very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pallavi. Thank you for making time today.
Thank
Akhilesh.
you.
I first of all, General Dharamraj, thank you for your service, and thank you for all the leadership that you have given the country. 37 years, right?
7.
Yeah, and it's amazing to hear your story, and it inspires me quite a lot because I come from a veteran family. So my dad used to be an ex-serviceman in Air Force, and my granddad and everyone has been, either a 4G or in police or something like that. I tried my best, but because I have got glasses, I never got in. So that was my first love was the army. But here we are now. It's a full circle where I can do something for the veteran community and help the cause. Just a short intro about myself. Been an entrepreneur, then a corporate exec, and then started my own advisory, and now back into corporate life. I lead global talent supply for Entity Data, which is a large tech firm, and India is a big growth trajectory for us. So, I fundamentally believe that there is an amazing talent pool in the veteran population. It's just about harnessing the right skills the right way and bringing it together. This podcast, hopefully, the panel discussion will help us unlock some of the ways that we can actually achieve that together. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from everyone.
Wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We quickly get started. And I would like to maybe start with Janal Dharmarajan, you. And I'll tell you why. Because obviously you come with that whole experience from the community, but apart from that, I know that you've been working closely to help veterans, make that transition. And as you see, what do you find is the biggest hurdle that we need to solve, or biggest challenge that veterans face when they're trying to make that transition to the corporate world, or private sector at large? What have you observed, sir?
There was a large perception that a veteran community was only fit largely for undertaking mere security related challenges, and that they could only were capable of maybe dealing with security and nothing other than security. And much as I did tell them that there are an entire range, an entire plethora, it's a microcosm of our entire nation in the manner in which they are capable of undertaking any and every single task. And I actually let out a kind of an open challenge to them to ask them for any kind of skill set in any district of West Bengal for at any time frame. And I said, I will actually reach out and get you the requisite kind of manpower. That was the first part. On the other hand, simultaneously, I try to reach out within our own fraternity, that is in the uniform fraternity, to discern what is the kind of prognosis in the coming year that I was there, in Bengal. And it was quite surprising to me internally as well that the army was actually wanting to not very easily share such kind of data, of who belong to which district and what kind of skill sets and in what time frame he was to exit. So it was to make ends meet in terms of what was the supply, what was the demand. And they said that all this data resides only in each of the 48 different centers all over the country, wherein the people get recruited and where they would eventually exit from. Every single individual has a place from where he gets recruited. I'm talking at the Jawan, the JCO's level. Of course, the officers also are quite ignorant of the opportunities and otherwise. What I realized during my own retirement seminar. So people congregate at the time of exiting, and there's a smooth process of transition in terms of giving them the documentation, what are their, pension benefits, and what are all the other aspects. But it's very late in the day that they actually start transiting. So there is both sides of the fence, range and skill sets which are available, be it communications, be it supply chain management, food and beverage. There have been a host of MSMEs that we've been reaching out to here in Tamil Nadu as well, and who are absolutely blissfully oblivious of what exactly is the capability that resides in the depth of each and every single soldier. Not just security, not just guarding the borders, but everyone functions as if he's a little, a little township within himself in every single location. And they do from end to end every single job, every single task, be it running of the essential services, be it the data related, the high tech related, the low tech related, every single capability which actually deals with the entire life, the entire society of what we are in India. So that is the long and short of what I was wanting to, put forth in terms of the challenges that you would face in terms of making the ends meet.
Sure, Jonathan. That's I think very meaningful and insightful. I would love to get reaction from others in terms of what you all feel. Anyone?
Yeah.
In
Satya, do you
fact, I
want to
was
go first?
surprised. Yeah, exactly. I was surprised to hear that so many things can be done, because since we are into leadership hiring, ideally we when I get a requirement for a veteran, typically a veteran who has been retired and they have done some courses from IIM or MDI, etc. So most of the placement, if I really say, we would have placed roughly around 100 people in my thousands of placements, where we have mostly placed people who has also got the qualification after their training. So that's one thing which I'm learning, that exactly for the manufacturing setup especially, probably we can utilize. While we work with one of the firms, I can't name them, they hire the talent from the army directly, and they promote a lot of them in the infrastructure side. So, in fact, one of our customers, they're into banking and financial services. They promote a lot of hiring in their admin and the security side. But on the other hand, the other firm, which I know, which we work for, they hire the veterans from supply chain side. So I think these are three terminology which I see that I've placed people on the veteran side.
Yeah, I would love to add a couple of points here to Satya and to General. See, the reality is that when you look at our, at least my view is, when you look at our defense establishment, it's a full organization in itself. It has got every single function that you need to run it. So as a self-sufficient organization, people end up doing all different types of rotations and jobs. Uh, I'm pretty sure the answer is no. But if I ask the general, when was the last time he ever saw a job description given to him as to the job? Okay, and so general, do you give job descriptions in the army and things like that?
So what you're saying is absolutely right. Obviously, you don't get job descriptions in the way that you mentioned, but
Yeah.
you start realizing that there are people reaching out, especially during the penultimate phase. I would say even 4 5 years before I retired. People possibly for whatever reasons started reaching out to me saying that we want only an army person and we want to reach out to you. They were asking me to step out of uniform. And
Yeah.
that was the first time when I was realizing that what a job description really looked like. Like what you're mentioning, you don't come across job descriptions and they don't know how to make job descriptions. That's a huge drawback amongst the armed forces fraternity as such.
I think that's where I believe companies need to think differently, because we are dealing with a highly skilled, multi-skilled population, okay, that does not work in the traditional setting of a job description, but on missions and objectives, okay,
Yeah.
and rotations. So when you work like that and you accumulate skills over 20 years of service, okay, you're a house of skills. Now, how we companies actually decipher that's tricky because uh, for example, exactly what the general just now said, that he realized late that there's something called as job description and how. So that people coming out don't know how to adjust onto that. The companies hiring don't know how to decipher their 20 past years, okay. And that's where the challenge I believe lies, is because we all hire in our traditional ways. All our recruiters go to, okay, let me hire who is the fastest I can get rather than who's the best for the job. Most of the time, that's the problem that happens in companies, is people go for the same type of people again and again, because it's the easiest way to deal with hiring volumes. But if you have to do diversity, you have to shift your lens. You have to shift how you think.
In fact, I'll just add here, Akhilesh, like recruiters generally go with a traditional mindset, but there are few categories of roles probably which requires a lot of discipline, culture, leadership, and more about authenticity. There are many roles which actually require people where we need strong leaders who can handle work pressure, and these military peoples are actually very well in they have worked under very high pressure. So those are a couple of roles which are actually which probably when we look at from a recruiter standpoint, they may go to the market or maybe to portal or LinkedIn, they may not get that. But if you look at differently, probably that kind of a pool you will get in this kind of market, and they would be the best people, and they do not need so much of training because they already are experienced with leadership and their soft skill aspect. So those actually are I mean they do not really require too much of training also, and they can be placed at a mid level.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
See,
Thank you, everyone. I think we spoke about the challenges, and I think one of the things which always stands out is and I get this a lot when we talk about translating skills, the military skills to corporate roles, vice versa. JD is one beast we have to solve for, maybe at the corporate side. The other is resume, right? So because most of it, I'm sure, General Dharmarajan, we don't make resumes in army. There's a different process that gets followed, obviously a very stringent one, and that's how you go about it. And there are obviously ACRs and the way your whole journey gets captured and you get your next posting, so on and so forth, and rise in the career. But solving for the challenges that we all have kind of just highlighted, what do we, and this is specifically for Satyas and Pallavi, Akhilesh specifically to start with, to say how do we go about solving for some of those challenges as a representative of organizations, as someone who wants to hire veterans, bring them in our ecosystem and make them successful. It should not be a push factor. It should not be that we just get them for the heck of it and a certain percentage of diversity that we want to achieve. But how do we really, in a very authentic manner, want to support and welcome this population? Because ultimately it's not a CSR or just a check in the box activity, but something very meaningful and impactful that we can generate for our organization. So how do we go about solving for some of these bigger challenges that we've just spoken about?
Yeah,
so
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, General.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think a couple of things. First of all, awareness, both sides, education, both sides. So, kind of retraining a lot of our recruiters, or create a specific pool of recruiters in companies who only focus on diversity and they understand how to decipher diversity. Where this is a veteran pool is a very different pool. It's a diverse pool. It's not your regular people coming out of the civilian population. So there has to be, companies have to invest in training programs and awareness session on the recruiter side, on the line managers who hire, because they are the final people who actually say that whom they're hiring. And also uh, prepare the veteran population through some kind of a program to understand what they're getting into, because a lot of times they don't understand what they're getting into. At least that's what I feel when I talk to a lot of veterans. For them it's a aha moment that this is how the world works outside of the army or outside of the air force or navy. So that's my 2 cents to it. It's got to do with a lot of awareness and training.
Fair enough. Yep, absolutely.
No, I
Janardhan,
absolutely, sorry.
Go ahead, Pallavi.
oh, please,
Okay.
carry on,
No,
Pallavi.
I absolutely agree. I mean, that's basically a shift of a recruiter as well as the hiring manager, because they typically look from a JD standpoint. But I think organizations nowadays are investing a lot. There is upskilling programs, apprenticeship programs, fellowship programs, which are being created for veteran hiring. And that's something which we need to invest. And as Akhilesh rightly mentioned, that the way we have different targets, like we need to have our vendor contribution at a lower side, we need to have referral contribution at a higher side. Similarly, there has to be a target which has to be set up by a high, maybe by a recruitment leaders, that this is our target and this is what we need to achieve. So to bring that, there would be some programs which requires designing change in the skill, change in the mindset of recruiters as well as the panelist, because that those are the real decision makers. Recruiters do try, so we have to actually give them a perspective that maybe there are few skills like cyber security roles, if I talk about logistics roles, program managers, project managers, or data analytics. These are few skills where I feel that anybody can do it by a lot, some amount of training. So those programs, small design programs, can really help to actually fulfill their target. And this, the best part is that they are mature people, they are decision makers, so you really don't have to train them on the soft skills and the other skills. You just have to invest a bit, maybe 5-10%, which anyways you do with your recurring hiring also. So that will actually bring, and the most important aspect which I see is their attrition rate is not so high. So that will actually add on to us, that they will not leave us early. If you invest them, they will stay longer and they can be senior leaders. So that's my perspective towards it.
Thank you. Thank you, Pallavi. And I think you touch on a very important aspect around attrition. And that's, I think, and general, Dhanraj, you will echo, they come with that sense that they want more of stability and security. If they have, so they will not jump organizations if their needs are taken care. And I think and the loyalty and integrity obviously goes beyond it. Yeah, Satya, you had a point. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so coming from the other side of the business, because I come from a business side, because especially I come from a recruitment firm, and when a recruitment firm gets any candidate, they always go for an ROI. So for an example, I don't work for one of the largest brand name, because probably if I send 200 CVs, I get one selection, I will not work on that client. But if I work for those clients, where probably I'll get one selection out of 10. It's very simple. It's a business sense. It makes a lot of sense. In the veteran hiring, typically a recruitment firms, they are, because the recruiters are not trained, because the recruiter, when they give us the requirement, they mention the veteran hiring. However, they don't know how to actually go through and filter them. What should they do with them? They don't know. They have been just given the mandate that get one veteran for us. But as Akhilesh mentioned, that are they really trained inside? If they will not be trained inside, even if I'll send say 100 CVs, one selection will probably happen. As good as any large product company. So I would say that educating the recruiter inside, and I would say add to it, educating the CXO of that organization becomes the critical part, so that they internally tell it to the head of HR and the head of TA and the recruiters. So it should come from the top. I think we will have a really great moment when we start doing that.
Absolutely.
So several points. Should I go next?
Please, Janardhan. Yes.
Yeah. So several points which all of you have touched upon, which I'll try to kind of put it in a slightly different light. For one is that veterans, the army is a very pyramidal structure, and there are very few at the top. And as you keep going down, there are a larger and larger base. So there is constant talent outflow, which is taking place at every single level. And you might find some of them who are quitting at just about 30, 35, some at 40, 45, and 50, 55, and things of that kind. And you find an entire talent pool which is available with a host of different skill sets like what I just highlighted. Whether you're looking at people who are monitoring, for example, when you said data and data management, we were monitoring the entire army budget, which is the largest budget of the entire country, the defense budget. It goes into 5 lakh crores, 6 lakh crores, or even more today. And 70,000 crores worth of expenditure we were monitoring from a single standpoint of how it was actually taking place in tens of thousands of centers all over the country. And you have people who are already dealing with such kind of e-commerce and stuff like that in terms of data and analysis and anything that you can think of, be it high tech, low tech, supply chain management, even looking at what the vegetable quality and the quantities and things of that kind, transportation, you name it, it's there within the army as such. Where it's high tech communications or electronics and all that, you have stuff to think in terms of radars and knocking down missiles, and whatever was going on in the last few days are all army people who are absolutely adept at the way that they handle things. Having said that, the second thing is that what Pallavi mentioned, that practically everybody who's looking at at a Fauji or an armed forces veteran being absorbed is obviously looking at these skill sets of leadership, perseverance, diligence, resilience, ethics, integrity, the problem-solving skills, and a host of other capabilities, discipline, and otherwise. You can mention the entire range of qualities that you would expect. And you see, like what I come out in the corporate sector, and when even before I stepped out, like I was telling you, there were many people who were saying, no, we just want a veteran and nobody else. We just want an army person. And that was the outlook in terms of saying we want him to come and head. I said, when they reached out to me, I'm not giving names, but I was telling them, I don't even know if I will make a good fit for you. I don't know how you are. They said nothing doing. We want you and we want you to come in and things of that kind. And I was finding it a little strange in the manner in which that was 4, 5 years before I even, I said, I've got still service to go, and I'm not thinking of, getting caught up in the manner in which you're expecting me to step out. So there are expectations in the environment, which I would say that they take it for granted that an army person would be able to deliver. Now, having said that, I'll take you back to what I was just relating to you in West Bengal, just to give you a context that there were a range of industries, hundreds and thousands of them in West Bengal alone. When I gave a small presentation, I don't know if I've shared that with you, Rashmi, about how I had highlighted to West Bengal, which we got the database of every single veteran who was stepping out and coming into West Bengal to his own hometown, to his home district. And we could acquire this data by reaching out to all the 48 centers all over the country. And I simultaneously reached out to the Navy and the Air Force. And fortunately for them, they had just one center from which I could pull the data. And I had the complete database of all the veterans. To give you some facts and figures, like what was normally mentioned in the parliament as well, I'm talking of a couple of years old data, but still notwithstanding, it doesn't change too much. It's about 32 lakh pensioners who are there today of defense pensioners, 32 lakh. And there are 60,000, approximately 60 to 70,000, who are stepping out every year after year out into the open, entire space which is there, the job space or employment space. Every single one of them is up and about, energetic, with full of work, expecting to serve for easily 10, 20, 30 years to go or even more. And each of them have tremendous amount of spirit and depth of experience, so to say. It's only being able to tap the correct place for the correct type of person that you need to be aware of. And looking at usually what happens with the defense forces is that having scanned the length and breadth of the entire country, they often look at wanting to get back to their roots and wanting to get back to their hometowns. So it was not difficult for me to map all the districts of West Bengal, and I mapped out every single one of them from all the 48 centers, and we got a full database. And when the IS probationers had also come to visit us, I made them known, made it known to them, saying that you have a host of, veterans who are already there in their district, as well as those who are going to step out into their district in each of the months to come. Because every single person who's going due on retirement comes to know at least 1.5 years in advance that he's going to step out, and he knows fully well that the writing is on the wall for himself to prepare before he steps out of uniform. The second thing is, which very few of the corporates actually know about, that the army funds the training for them to step out. And they have adequate avenues to actually reach out to. Unfortunately, they're not even aware of what the vacancies are where they need to fit in. This particular vertical of the army is only looking at training, and so they don't look at the placement. So they just carry out training, at random, wherein it doesn't really make a mix and match for what is exactly required. And I did apprise all the industry there, saying that you could get it done at army's expense, the training costs, so that you let that smooth transition take place in a manner that it's a win-win-win all the way. That the veteran benefits, the corporate benefits, and the army as a whole benefits, so that he's able to get back into his own hometown with the skill sets which is required, and which the corporate also desires. The other part which I wanted to highlight is that if we have a little bit of a futuristic look, not just at here and now, often the problem at hand is, yes, we need to get somebody here and now and then retrain him and do it. That's where we start going wrong. And I try to tell the industry, please look ahead and let me know even 15 months or 18 months down the line. And you have a prediction in terms of whom do you want, of what skill sets, and we can tap that particular skill center. Is it communications? Is it construction? Is it, supply chain management? Is it warehousing? Is it a particular type of skill set that you are looking for, of a particular, venture that you are actually wanting to even set up? And I started getting such kind of requirements from the corporates to say that, yes, we are going to set up such a type of industry where we would be needing it 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line. And including even the banking and the finance and all those sectors wherein, like I said, we have 70,000 crores of actually usable money, which translates into something or the other every year being given into the defense budget, be it capital or revenue, and it's all being handled by army individuals who are already undergoing all this financial training as well. So as a result, what really happens is the transition is something which is there for the asking, but it's not getting, it's not materializing for both the ends, not knowing what the other end is doing. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, what the right hand wants, and the left hand doesn't know what it needs to provide for the right hand. So because of this gap which is existing, we are not looking ahead and we are just waiting for him to step out. The moment he steps out, he's already looking left or right. And sometimes he pre-decides a place to choose wherein possibly he doesn't get the true right placement for his employment. And as a result, we fritter out a chance where if the transition had been smooth, they normally, in the army, you stay put at least 2 to 3 years in a particular location. And if he has decided to move on retirement to a particular location, he doesn't change thereafter very easily. His bag and package has been wrapped up, it has been dispatched to a location, which preferably is somewhere in his hometown. Whereas if he had been given an option about a year and a half prior, and he knew fully well that he could fit in very well into a job, into a employment, which is win-win for both ends, he would have taken it all gracefully, most gracefully, wherein he would have been able to very smoothly transit with the requisite training, with acquiring the requisite skill sets, and meeting both ends, means the individual's end as well as the corporate end and the army's end as a whole. It would have been a tremendous force multiplier effect for everyone. And the placement cell within the army doesn't really realize that the training cell can do this much for them. So the placement cell works independently, and as a result, many people don't even go to the placement cells because they find that people like what you are all here representing would do a much better deal. So you might not very easily be able to tap into this database because the placement cell is waiting for people to come and apply to them. Whereas if we proactively reach out to these 48 centers of whichever one which is a specialist unit in terms of saying that, yes, I handle very heavy equipment, I handle cranes, I handle, artillery guns, I can have this kinds of towing of, major types of armament or equipment or weaponry and things of that kind. So even if they have to transit into, say, the shipping industry or handle the shore cranes or handle big machinery or including turbines and things of that kind, you could get the requisite type of manpower, be it from the army, from the air force or the navy as well.
Yeah.
So there is no denying the fact that there would be some retraining and alignment, which is well possible within the time frame of a year or year and a half, if you give it the due thought and be able to tap this particular resource of army training funding, which I used to do when I was handling the army budget itself, as to what you give for Director General resettlement, how much you carry out the training of the manpower. And sometimes even that funding goes waste because that funding is not tapped. So you find it's a lose, wherein the individual doesn't get trained, the training funds allocated do not get adequately utilized, and at the end of it, the person who has to get a mix and match of the correct kind, it doesn't really end up in that manner, which could ideally be done in that way.
So,
Yeah.
General, I have a question, and I don't know if this is a question that Satya or Pallavi also have, but I do face from my teams at time feedback coming back that a lot of the people who have done the 20 years of service and everything have got pensions and all those things and not necessarily super motivated to go back into working for a private sector or corporate or move from where they live or where they have kind of retired to go into a city to work and things like that. So how much of that is true and how much of it is like just a perception?
I would say I won't entirely negate what you're saying, and it's a bit of a yes and a no. The problem at hand is maybe, the cross section of people, they transition. If it's not adequately thought through initially, a person, once he gets into the, routine of not really getting back to work because he's been working all through, he would definitely like to continue to go 24/7, 365. That's the kind of verve which is there within each and every soldier. He doesn't really look like, even when I meet the veterans here by the hundreds who come, to meet every other day, they're all asking for more and more and more. And everybody wants a placement at the earliest opportunity. We were trying to deal with the Agniveers who are just about, going to exit within a few years now. And each of them have, again, tremendous capability to take it forward. So with that kind of a capability which exists, what really happens is that we are actually maybe missing out the larger lot who are available and are capable and are keen. It's the skill, will, value, if you would like to say. Value is no doubt always available. And the skill is also available. Maybe we have not tapped the skill at the correct point where there is this will required. This will at a point in time, if we have tapped him at the right moment, and if we have actually given him this particular kind of a handshake to say that you just train for this much and you will be able to get this much, and you will be able to transit and step out, you will find that you will get the right talent at the right place. There are many people, like I would say, bulk of my troops were all South Indians, and we were settled in Ahmedabad, and there was we were posted in Ahmedabad, and many of them decided to step out and take a job in Ahmedabad. So it's not that they are always looking at wanting to go back only to their hometowns. And much long later, he was a Sri Lanka veteran who had, got injured alongside me. And it was wonderful to see him come and meet all of us when we were posted back there again and wanting to throw a party to all the other Javans together the way that they were all doing so well. So if we tap at the right time, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you give them 1.5 year notice or a year's notice or even prior to that, you will find that you can align the interests of that individual and the corporate and the segment as a whole. Having said that, there is yet another issue which I had wanted to highlight, having stepped out into the corporate sector, that there's a lot which the armed forces and the armed forces fraternity can learn from the corporate sector as well. There is so much of alignment which can get done in the manner in which it is, of course, getting done in a very large measure now, that the talent and the requirements which are already there in the corporate sector, it can well be absorbed in the manner in which the tasking can be done in the army and the armed forces as a whole. So if you have some new technology for which we need to train somebody in the army, we could actually possibly find ways and means by which that technology itself can be absorbed within the fraternity, within the armed forces fraternity. If you're trying to say that there is a very, high tech kind of a requirement of trying to do some tungsten steel welding or, some kind of a requirement which is there in any particular segment of some very high tech communication, which you feel that the armed forces veteran may not be aware of, that type of requirement exists within the army as well, for sure, in some nook and corner wherein it can well be absorbed. And if you know win-win-win, once again, being able to align the requirements of what the corporate requires, what the army requires, and where both the things can align, you can be rest assured you will get an experienced veteran with already the skill sets being, imbibed within him, which can step out very, very smoothly into the open environment. You don't even need to wait for those 1.5 years. He could just step out of uniform and step into that particular sector. And many people do that incidentally.
Interesting.
I actually agree. I just wanted to add, like, because of nowadays, many technical resources come very, very expensive. Even people, those who come with 2 or 3 years of experience. So now, what industry is investing into interns program and upskilling programs where they bring in some people who actually are not on the roles from day one. They are on some internship for 6 months. They are upscaled, they are invested, and then when we are 100% sure that okay, 50% of this population will fit and they have qualified the process, then they are becoming on the roles of the organization. So what helps in that? So this we are actually doing with many of the people which we are bringing from campuses, as well as we are doing with a lot of diversity which are coming with some disabilities. So we are diversifying, because normally if you look at the pool in the external market, it is all same, and the candidates do get counter offer. Then there is a lot of negotiation. Just to avoid that, this is a separate segment which organizations are tapping right now, which for at least for that 30% or 20% we are safe that there will be limited offer drops, and these people will actually trust us because we have invested on them. So that's something which I feel that few set of people basis their resumes or maybe their experience in past can be filtered to. This will be actually a role to role segmentation. There would be role designed that this kind of role, this kind of veteran will fit in, and those pipeline has to go to those set of recruiters or maybe the ambassadors. So there is a new program usually which we are running nowadays, like diversity is one of the ambassador which we have made. Similarly, ambassador to drive the veteran initiative. So they actually feel proud that this is the achievement I have done, and through which there is a win-win situation to both the side, that the organization do get a benefit as well as the veteran or maybe diversity, whatever we name it, that segment gets benefited. So it's a win-win for both the side.
So two things that I can add in this, facet is that especially since we've been seeing a lot of, kind of heightened escalation. Like, of course, when I started my career, we were into Sri Lanka in a very short while. And of course, Rashmi's dad was also there alongside, and we were both, fighting the LTT there. And we did have a large number of casualties who were maimed, lost their limbs, lost their hands, lost their eyes, and a whole lot of other issues. So if you're looking at, disability and things of that kind, on one hand, you would find a large number of disabled veterans as well who could fit in into many of these assignments. That is one part when you're looking at, having diversity in terms of capability and specially abled and otherwise. And it's not that one needs to look at it entirely from the perspective of they being specially abled, but having to do it, you will find they may have tremendous skill sets as well. I know for one a pilot who is doing something extraordinarily well even after being, a paraplegic from neck downwards. He used to use his mouth, used to paint, used to write articles. He was almost doing a journalist kind of a job with just being able to move his mouth alone. And he was paralyzed from his neck downwards. Extremely capable, of course. You'll find it very easily. You'll find his name very easily if you just Google through the Pune newspapers of, maybe a few decades ago. The second thing is when you're carrying out this training for various types of skill sets, a little bit of collaboration with this training vertical, which is there meant especially for the veterans who are due to step out. You will realize that maybe you could kind of synchronize it with giving due advertisement focus on when the vacancies and the placements are due to come out. And you would find that the people who are already having these skill sets adequately, they could, one, get a truncated kind of a training session without too much of expenditure. Number two, the funding itself could get done through this resettlement vertical if it is feasible, both win-win. And three, it could give assured placements to both ends, means for the supply and the demand side. And you could actually gain very, very gainfully on both fronts, actually. I would just take it in that spirit.
And I think that's a very important point. What on the training side we do. So what we do is we get that whole list in terms of how many and what kind of course. And some of them are very basic, like storekeeping, for example. But there are people, at especially NCO level, who would fit into that. And as we know, there is a pool getting created. It's very easy to kind of map it to the requirement as we get, because we are, as I said, we're not just looking at the top layer, but also across the board how we can support veterans. So I think some fantastic insights coming out, and yeah, of course, internship transition journeys is something that we continue to work with corporates and with the say the DGR or AWPO to see how we can make it happen. But I think for today that'll be all. I think we have shared some exciting and some very pertinent points in the conversation today. I'd really like to thank each one of you for making time.